With just a gentle poke, the woman brings humanity to the brink of extinction. People suddenly drop dead without warning, as if the entire world is being paused, yet the animals show no reaction. Is it a virus attack or a terrifying supernatural force? Welcome to the latest science fiction thriller of the year 2025, Saving Earth. Beekeeper Jason recently noticed something strange. The honey production at his home is decreasing because the bees in the hive are dwindling every day. This is the only asset left by their mother and an important source of living expenses. Jason was born under a hard fate. His younger brother Jimmy has had autism since childhood, always silent but obedient to his brother. Her mother once participated in a drug trial for a large biopharmaceutical company, and as a result of side effects, fell into a coma and became a vegetative state. From that day on, Jason's perception of the world became paranoid. He firmly believed that his mother's experience was no accident, so he went through various science fiction materials and eventually directed his suspicions towards the founder and female CEO of that biotech company, Ellie. In Jason's twisted logic, the decline in bees was a precursor to an alien invasion of Earth. It's important to know that 1/3 of the food humans consume comes from plants that require bee pollination. If bees were to go extinct, the Earth's ecosystem would inevitably collapse. This idea wrapped around Jason like a poisonous vine. He devised an extremely crazy plan to save the world, which was to kidnap Ellie before the lunar eclipse, because various signs indicated that this Ellie was very likely an alien in disguise. Whether it was the biological agents she promoted or the drug experiments conducted on his mother, all were ways to harm Earth's humans. If they can capture Ellie, they can force her to reveal the alien conspiracy and even drive away these detestable invaders. For this, he and Jimmy embarked on a comical, yet bittersweet training, clumsily following online videos to build their physical strength, and went to the supermarket to buy ropes, tape, and other tools for their plan. The brothers' world has completely disconnected from reality, while the villain in their eyes, Ellie, is living a completely different life. She is the queen of the capitalist world, with a company monopolizing the vast market from cancer drugs to cold medicine, and its market value rivals that of a nation. Ellie also possesses immense wealth. However, her life is extremely disciplined, waking up at 4:30 every morning, meticulously practicing yoga and combat training. However, Ellie was unaware that she had already been targeted by two desperate madmen. After the new product launch ended, Ellie drove home, and at a secluded intersection, the Jason brothers charged out like two clumsy bears. But they underestimated the fighting ability of the female CEO. Fortunately, during the struggle, Jason quietly injected Ellie with a dose of sedative. As the drug took effect, she felt a dizzying sensation and soon completely lost consciousness. The brothers hurriedly stuffed her into the back seat of the car. On the way, Jason gave a puzzling order. He told Jimmy to immediately shave Ellie's head because hair is the antenna for remote communication between aliens. This absurd action added an even more bizarre layer to the whole incident. They tied the unconscious Ellie up and brought her back to their own messy basement, which looked damp and dark, as if it were naturally a prison for holding aliens. Jimmy once had a moment of doubt and asked his brother how he determined that Ellie was an alien. Jason came up with a self-created set of alien characteristics: narrow feet, inverted nails, and a special earlobe shape. These far-fetched reasons, under Jimmy's unconditionally trusting gaze, ultimately became indisputable truths. Then Jason took even more baffling actions. He covered Ellie with cold cream, claiming it could block the alien's special abilities, and then dressed her in clean clothes, stating that one must maintain respect for the enemy. When Ellie woke up in the cold basement and felt her bald scalp, she was instantly overwhelmed by confusion and fear. Jason then formally stated his demand, asking Ellie to introduce him to the alien royalty on the night of the lunar eclipse to discuss the terms of the alien's departure from Earth. Ellie forced herself to stay calm, repeatedly emphasizing that she was just an ordinary person, and warning the two that kidnapping her would lead to a massive police search throughout the city. However, in Jason's view, Ellie's denial was nothing but meaningless sophistry. The first interrogation yielded no results, so Jason threw an old cell phone to Ellie, telling her to voluntarily disclose all the alien secrets, and then went out to tend to the beehive. This is their only source of livelihood. Even heroes saving the Earth have to think about food. Not long after, the news of Ellie's disappearance was broadcast on TV. Jason realized time was running out and hurried home to resume the interrogation. But Ellie's repeated denials completely ignited his fury. Jason roared in anger in front of everyone, unexpectedly frightening Jimmy into trembling. To comfort his brother, Jason showed a carefully rendered model of an alien mothership on the computer. He told Jimmy that the current difficulties were temporary, and as long as they boarded the spaceship and negotiated with the aliens, Earth could achieve eternal peace. Seeing that gentle interrogation was ineffective, Jason decided to use the ultimate method. He tied Ellie to a homemade electric shock device. The moment the current was connected, a painful scream echoed throughout the basement. Jimmy watched this scene and suddenly rushed forward to pull out the power plug. The instinct of kindness finally overpowered the obedience to his brother. However, Jason drew an even crazier conclusion from this cruel experiment. Ordinary humans and even ordinary aliens could not withstand such voltage. There was only one possibility for Ellie to survive. She possessed the noble bloodline of alien royalty. This discovery changed Jason's attitude, and he immediately untied Ellie, even inviting her to lunch as a sign of respect for a royal member. To avoid physical pain, Ellie temporarily chose to compromise, vaguely admitting her alien identity. During lunch, Ellie tentatively asked Jason why he was convinced that aliens wanted to destroy Earth. Jason's answer was straightforward and sad: because bees around the world are disappearing. Ellie calmly pointed out that the decline in bees could be due to pesticides, climate change, or natural species decline, and hinted that Jason's paranoia might stem from his mother's unfortunate experience. The word mother is a taboo for Jason, and he instantly erupted, tightly gripping Ellie's neck. At this critical moment, sirens sounded outside. It turned out the police had traced Ellie's disappearance to this remote apiary. Jason suppressed his anger, instructed Jimmy to tie Ellie up again and hide her, and then put on a smile to greet them. The officer knocking on the door happened to be an old acquaintance of Jason's. Jason cleverly used a few bottles of fresh honey as gifts, trying to quickly send the other person away, even inviting him to visit the bee colony to divert attention. Meanwhile, in the dim basement, Ellie seized her last chance. She kept brainwashing Jimmy, saying that kidnapping is a serious crime, and releasing her is the only way to avoid prison. If he remains stubborn, he will not only harm himself, but also his brother. Jimmy is experiencing a painful struggle internally. Although he may seem a bit foolish, he has deep feelings for his brother. In the end, in extreme pain and confusion, this simple and fragile young man made the most foolish choice. A gunshot echoed through the sky, alerting the police outside. In a panic, Jason smashed the officer's head with a beehive and then quickly grabbed a shovel. After dealing with the police, Jason quickly rushed back to the basement, only to see Jimmy's cold corpse. The death of his close relative drove Jason completely mad. He pointed a gun at Ellie, vowing to send her to accompany his brother in death. However, Ellie remained calm in the face of danger, saying she had a way to bring Jason's mother back to life. In fact, the genes in his mother's body are being rearranged by alien technology, which is why she's been in a coma for a long time. The antidote to awaken her is in the yellow can in the trunk of my car. Having just lost a loved one, Jason clung to this hope like a lifeline. He rushed to the car, took out the can labeled antifreeze, and dashed madly to the hospital. Confirming no one was in the room, Jason recklessly injected the blue liquid from the can into his mother's body. Then he knelt by the bed, waiting for his mother to wake up. However, the expected miracle did not occur. Instead, his mother began to convulse violently, until the other person's heartbeat completely stopped. Jason realized he had been deceived. Having lost both his brother and mother, the man's soul seemed hollowed out, now filled only with endless hatred, secretly vowing to tear Ellie to pieces. At this moment, Ellie certainly wouldn't sit idly by. She fished out a key from Jimmy's pocket, unlocked the handcuffs, and was about to leave when she accidentally walked into an inconspicuous storage room, only to find it filled with various human remains, with information about aliens displayed on a computer screen. Ellie immediately realized that she was not the first alien persecuted by Jason. When Jason returned to the cabin full of anger, Ellie seemed like a different person. She exuded an indescribable authority and questioned Jason about how many aliens he had killed. Seeing him hesitate to answer, Ellie voluntarily admitted that she was an alien from Andromeda. When her ancestors discovered Earth, it was still the age of dinosaurs, but they accidentally spread a virus that led to the extinction of the dinosaurs. The ancestors, feeling guilty, created new life based on their own genes, which are the humans today. However, for millions of years, human greed, selfishness, and cruelty have led to endless cycles of war and disaster. Therefore, the aliens plan to use chemical means to correct the flaws in human genes. Ellie came to Earth to lead the drug trials precisely for this rescue plan. Jason's mother was one of the test subjects. This seemingly implausible yet logically coherent cosmic epic actually convinced the desperate Jason. Ellie seized the opportunity, stating that now was the best time to take him to meet the alien leader. She took Jason to her company office, took out an ordinary calculator, and claimed it was a disguised interstellar communicator that required a 58-digit password to activate. Then she pointed to a luxurious wardrobe, saying it was the portal to the mothership. In his desperation, Jason retained a final bit of caution, wrapping himself with homemade explosives, thinking if this was a trap, he would perish with the alien emperor. As he approached the wardrobe with anticipation, Ellie began counting down outside. The anticipated starlight transmission did not appear. Instead, there was a deafening explosion. The powerful shockwave flung Ellie away. After an unknown amount of time, Ellie awoke to the sound of ambulance sirens. The medical staff told her that perhaps the friction from body heat triggered the homemade bomb on the kidnapper. However, Ellie made a shocking move. She broke free from the medical staff, barefoot, stumbling back into the chaotic office. Under the astonished gaze of the police, she quickly picked up the bloodstained calculator and resolutely stepped into the broken wardrobe. The next moment, something magical happened. The inside of the wardrobe turned into a swirling vortex of viscous liquid. Ellie leapt in, and as she emerged from the liquid on the other side, the sight before her was breathtaking. It was a vast space filled with a sense of futuristic technology. Two tall aliens respectfully pulled her out. It turned out Ellie hadn't lied. That wardrobe was indeed an alien teleportation device. Even more astonishing, all the aliens knelt at Ellie's feet. It turned out she was not just an ordinary royal member, but the current queen of the Andromeda aliens. At this moment, the clansmen began to report the recent progress of their tasks. All genetic modification experiments targeting humans have failed, and the last 2 test subjects died not long ago. Standing in the command center of the mothership, Ellie looked down at the circular model in front of her and murmured that Earth no longer has a reason to exist. She raised the scepter in her hand and pierced the transparent membrane on the spherical model with a sharp blue crystal. With a barely audible sound, the life-representing glow on the model instantly extinguished, reflecting a scene of corpses strewn across the earth. The once bustling cities fell into dead silence, marking the end of human civilization. At the story's end, the camera slowly returns to the Jason brothers' apiary, where the once vanished bees began to return in small groups. By a twist of fate, the Jason brothers uncovered the alien visitors, but never guessed the cold truth until their deaths. The demise of the bee swarm was never an alien conspiracy. It was the bitter fruit sown by humans themselves. When greed and selfishness devour reverence, the seeds of destruction have long since taken root. What seemed like an alien invasion catastrophe ultimately became a self-judgment of human civilization. Well, that's the end of today's commentary. If you have different opinions, please leave a comment for discussion. See you next time.